Welcome to Cinema Savants, your weekly dose of movie news, movie reviews, and the occasional rumor. With your hosts, Todd Vandenberg and Rob Steele. And coming up in this week's show, Star Wars makes more money. Duh. Marvel gets Conan back, and they're rebooting the Avengers. Just not the ones you think they are. But first, we missed something. Had we had a show last week, it would have been closer, but you know what? It's close enough now. Happy 77th birthday to Hayao Miyazaki. Because we haven't mentioned him yet this year.
Quite true. Quite true.
So, happy birthday. Yeah, we don't do the happy birthday thing much, but we mention him every show. I figured we should. And now, on to the 4 big questions for 2018. Kick off with the big stuff. Actually, we've got a lot of stuff to get through in the show, but...
We do.
Actually, the first one's not really so much a question. Are the sexual allegations going to be going away with the Me Too movement? No. That was easy.
Clearly not. Not.
We've had a number of them this year, including one that I just found out about this morning. This past week, there have been allegations of Stan Lee, the founder of Marvel, being naughty during massages or whatever. And all I'm going to say is I'm not terribly surprised because Stan Lee is, 7,000 years old now. And comes from a misogynistic age where things like that just happened. I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying I understand his mentality, which is wrong. Right?
Indeed. When did this alleged behavior happen?
It's been in the past several years.
Okay, so it wasn't just like
it's not like back when he was 23. No, this is still at least in his 80s.
Yeah.
That I'm hearing about it. It might go back farther. I don't know.
Which doesn't excuse it, but it also kind of makes you wonder. Okay, is he seems certainly mentally acute in every way from any interview I've seen, and I mean lately. But it does kind of make you wonder: is that part of the issue? Just that maybe he's not quite completely there at this age. Which again, I'm not excusing it. That's just a question. I think it's much more likely that he's completely mentally competent and he totally knows what he's doing. But like you said, obviously
comes from the misogynist age, which
exactly.
Sounds like there should be dinosaurs.
Well, aren't they? And this kicks off the whole conversation. God, we could do 5 or 20 or 100 shows about this and not even talk about the movies at this point, because there's news about this constantly. By the way, this is Cinema Savants. That's Rob. I'm Todd.
We have opening credits. They know.
No, they don't know. Anyway, there's starting to be a little bit of backlash, and some of it I think is well-intentioned. Like Liam Neeson mentioned something about he's concerned that it turns into, I believe the quote was, a bit of a witch hunt. Not a witch hunt, but a bit of a witch hunt. And we've talked about this where I can't remember now if it was you or Lee that had popped in, which Lee isn't here this week, but he'll be back next week, that there seems to be no due process, and someone is named and boom, let's get rid of them without really any kind of investigation or thought process. Now, in most cases, it seems when people are accused, and it's 90% or 95% of the time it's men, they cop to it and they say, oh my gosh, you know what? I didn't really think of it that way. Or they say, yes, I did think of it that way and I was an asshole and I'm taking the punishment. Whatever. I mean, a lot of them are doing that. So they're serving their own due process, obviously. But we do have to be careful about, someone is accused of something, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's true. So far, apparently, it has been true, like I said, in easily 90% of the cases because the people being accused are admitting it. So pretty much that's the case. But on the other hand, you have comments like from Catherine Deneuve, who said, well, I don't really know how men can flirt anymore. And it's like, flirting typically does not include having a button installed in your office so you can lock the door and drop your pants.
I would think not.
These things kind of go beyond that. And this kind of ties into where she's obviously kind of from a different era and pretty much accepted misogynistic behavior, apparently. And that's a sad thing.
Yeah.
I guess I understand what she's saying because we don't want it to become a culture where people can't say anything to anyone without it being interpreted as a verbal assault at the least. You know, if you touch someone on the shoulder, I've been sexually assaulted. Well, you really shouldn't touch someone on the shoulder unless you know they want to be touched, period, regardless of where it is. Well, unless you're the president of the United States, because then it's
apparently
okay.
then it's acceptable for some
then it's acceptable. Reason. Yeah, and we'll get more to that. But this is not going away clearly.
No.
So the long form answer to your answer, like you said, no, clearly it's not. But we are seeing more and more sides of it.
The one that hit this morning that I found out about was comedian Aziz Ansari, who I like. Aziz, I think he's funny. He's been accused of sexual misconduct by a 23-year-old female photographer who claims she went on a date with him last year. And there's a really lengthy article talking about what happened. Now, people who have read the article are saying, you know what, that doesn't sound like sexual misconduct. It sounds like a very awkward and clumsy date. So they're trying to figure out the fine line between, what is this, coercion and consent, between being pushy and sexual assault. Because it doesn't really sound like he assaulted her or was did anything untoward. Mm-hmm. But that's what she's claiming, and people are kind of going, yeah, that might not count. It just sounds like a bad date, and I don't think a bad date should be punishable with prison time. Bad dates happen. It's a thing.
Indeed they do. I was just flipping through this. I don't know. It's kind of odd when you ignored clear nonverbal cues. You kept going with advances. She used verbal and nonverbal cues. I'm kind of...
I don't know. More on this story as it becomes available.
Why wouldn't you just say, from the description, it sounds like, to me, it sounds like, okay, that seems like it's sexual assault. But why would you say you used verbal and nonverbal cues as opposed to just saying, I told him no? Obviously that's a verbal cue, but this doesn't appear to be from a legal...
Yeah, who knows?
It's just that she said this, and that's an odd way to say, I told him no, and he continued. Why wouldn't you just say that as opposed to, I used verbal and nonverbal cues?
Because she talked to a lawyer first.
Yeah, but that, doesn't it kind of sound like she didn't really say no, but she kind of hinted at it, which is...
I implied a no.
Yeah, which, again, if this happened as she says... Or
is she playing hard to get?
That's an issue. And that's my point, because that makes it difficult, because people still do that on both sides of the gender issue or the interaction.
Or if there's only one side, we're not casting any... If there's only one gender side.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. On both sides of the date, let's put it that way. And
does gender side sound like I just killed everybody?
Ooh, you could be the new president. That's awesome.
Oh, dear. Let's move on to a slightly less controversial subject. The whole net neutrality thing. And this occurred to me that net neutrality, going through the whole government thing where everyone has been bought off at this point, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Including the movie companies. Do you think that the net neutrality thing could have been put up, to get rid of it so they can throttle the speeds of things like Netflix and Hulu and all the streaming services and iTunes. So you'll have to go back and buy the physical DVDs and Blu-rays. Could this actually just be a thing to increase DVD sales?
It could be, but I really think it's more just a play for you're going to have to pay us money, extra money, if you want. On top of the money you're already paying for Netflix. You won't just have to pay Netflix. You're going to have to pay Spectrum or Comcast or Cox or whoever extra money for that extra bandwidth, which you already do, but it's going to be an a la carte thing. It's like, oh, you want Netflix? There's a $10 access fee for that, in addition to what you're paying for Netflix. I think that's more likely than...
I think so, too. I'm
pushing back to physical media. But, I mean, I think
it's going to help physical media. But yeah,
in the short term, I think it will. But then eventually, if it unfortunately we're stuck with it, which I'm sure we will be for at least 4 years, and then it'll go away again, along with a lot of other things. It's just gonna be a bigger money pit. Money hole? Did I say the word hole? We haven't gotten to that yet either. We will. It's just a simpler cash grab, I think, and unfortunately, we're going to get hit with it very quickly.
Speaking of cash grabs, what do you think about AMC theaters doing different prices for where you want to sit in the theater?
I obviously, well, I shouldn't say obviously, but I don't like it. But when you think about it,
no, obviously works. That's okay.
Aren't movie theaters the only venue that doesn't use that pricing model? I mean, you go to a concert, you go to a sports event, you go to almost anything, and you're going to pay more for the best seats.
But where are the best seats in a theater? Because usually, with what you're talking about, with sporting events and concerts, it's the front row, premium seating. But if you're in the front row of a theater, you're going to hurt your neck looking up. And
sure. Well, it's in the center of the theater. It's if you hit the sweet spot, the cheapest seats are going to be in the front row on the sides. And then the very back will be the cheaper seats. So, I mean, that's...
I know. It's just a weird thing.
It is a weird thing because they're complaining about MoviePass. As far as I know, they're the only theater chain that's been aggressively complaining about MoviePass. Their theory being that, well, when MoviePass fails, as if this is something inevitable, then people will not want to pay the higher prices when they come back to the theater chains. But you are the only theater chain that is talking about establishing higher prices right now for your theaters. So decide. I mean, I guess in a way it's like, okay, well, how can we charge $25 for that primo 12th row middle seat when people have been getting in for $9.95 a month? It's like, well, you won't be able to, but that's on you. That's a stupid business model. Don't charge for extra. I mean, I understand that, like I said, every other venue pretty much does it. But people have not been doing that for movie theaters, and at least in this country, I don't know if they do that anywhere else. But
didn't in Germany.
Don't think that's going to fly. I think people will just. A few people might say, "Oh yeah, I'll pay the extra." Like, I don't think a whole lot of people are going to be there. So you're going to have this hole. Hole is the theme in the middle of the movie theater because people aren't going to pay that ridiculous $25 ticket, and then sit there with their $10 popcorn and their $12 Coke, or their $20 wine if they're in one of those theaters.
Well, actually, speaking of buying things, a couple weeks ago, Disney bought up Fox, and I don't know if you've seen this. Apple is aggressively going after Netflix.
Yeah.
Which would that be a good thing? I'm not sure. I'm seeing I know Apple wants to start its own streaming service like Netflix, but if you go ahead and buy Netflix, I don't think you'll need to.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously you wouldn't need to. So I don't know. I'm not sure that that's necessarily a good thing. Although as we get more and more streaming services and things get more and more compartmentalized, it's in some ways maybe it's better. It was like, oh, okay, Apple owns Netflix now. We won't have another freaking streaming service and more exclusive deals, which is what we're getting more and more. Like Amazon buying, or They didn't buy it, but they have now you can get CBS All Access through Amazon. But to get it without the ads, it costs even more than it already does. And it's just, and CBS All Access, unless you're watching Star Trek Discovery, is pretty useless. Because a lot of the things that you want to watch on CBS aren't on CBS All Access, which makes no sense whatsoever.
I liked it's not an ad, but it was someone making it out to be an ad about CBS All Access with Star Trek Discovery, boldly making you stream where no one has made you want to stream before.
I mean,
yeah.
Basically, it's CBS Star Trek Access.
And because that's really all it is.
Then there's several other popular shows. They only have like one season available. This is your network. What the hell are you doing? And now they're charging a premium if you want to watch it without ads. It's like, oh my god.
You can get NCIS season 1 in case you don't have the USA network.
Yeah, unbelievable. So going back around to the original, it's like, I guess I'd rather have Apple buy Netflix than Apple start their own streaming service and then sign their own exclusive deals, because then, now I'll have to have another freaking streaming service if I want to watch 5 of my favorite shows, because they're not on Hulu anymore. Oh, they're not on Netflix. And now that package will be on Apple, whatever network they would call it. So fine, buy it all. I don't care.
Have fun with it.
Yeah.
Another movie and money news, I suppose.
Star
Wars has passed Harry Potter as the second most money-making franchise in the history of movies. Until Fantastic Beasts comes out, and that'll count as the Harry Potter movie, and then it'll pass Star Wars. And then Solo will come out, and it will pass Harry Potter again, and that's going to go for a while. Meanwhile, though, I don't think either of them are going to catch number 1, which is the Marvel franchise, because if you look at look at your scorecard right now, you got 9 Star Wars movies, 9 Harry Potter movies, and 20-something Marvel movies. We're not going to get there, even if the Marvel movies start to go crap and don't make any more money. Like that's going to happen.
Yeah,
yeah, that's not going to. No one's going to catch Marvel for a very long time. But there's actually other Star Wars news. It opened in China to a whopping almost 8.3 million.
Yeah.
Opening night.
Interesting. And I read an interesting article about it that explained it. And basically It's because there's no built-in love for Star Wars, because they didn't get the real movies.
No.
So they got the prequels, which is, wow. Is there any wonder that that Star Wars is not a big cultural thing in China when they got the prequels, and yeah.
I think if they had re-released the originals after the prequels, that would have been a great social experiment to see if it actually you can get a society to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 instead of what we grew up with, which was 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 7, 8. Yoda numbered this. He did.
Yes, that would have made much more sense. And
I think it would have been interesting to see how China would have reacted to that. Would these movies have done better? We'll never know.
Nope, we won't. And it's kind of funny that they didn't even try that, because why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you give them the entire story?
Go for it.
Instead of, okay, you're going to see the first 3 parts of the story, which aren't very good. You're going to skip the 3 parts, which are really good, and then we're going to skip ahead. Yeah.
Well, actually, and they didn't even get the full effect of what is now being dubbed an outrage. I didn't realize that this had gotten to outrage status until recently. Minor spoiler for The Last Jedi, in case you're one of the 6 people on the planet who hasn't seen it. Admiral Akbar
yeah.
Died off screen. We just didn't see it happen. And you know what? The actor who voiced him died recently too. So that might have been a thing. And just the fact that they touched on the fact that he died, I thought was kind of a nice tribute thing. But people are outraged that he was killed off screen. And if you don't know who Admiral Akbar is, look up the meme. It's a trap.
Yeah.
You know, that's how he became famous, is through memes, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I knew who he was before. And to all of you who are saying, I am outraged that they killed him off screen, bite me. At least he got mentioned, all right? My favorite characters, Wedge, not mentioned. Mara Jade, Tycho Shellshoe, and Coran Horn don't even exist anymore because Disney bought them. So shut up about Admiral Akbar, all right? That's my little rant for today.
Admiral, I mean, like you said, the only reason anybody remembers him is because it's a trap. And of course, he looks like he's
a fish.
He's an escapee from Futurama, which makes him fun. But yeah, that's not exactly a central character to Star Wars. And like you said, there are, I don't know, actually probably hundreds, if not thousands of characters, which no longer exist at all. So yeah, calm down with your outrage. I mean, that's kind of out there.
Speaking of things that don't exist anymore, X-Men movie dates.
Oh, I thought you meant civility in the politics. Anyway, yes.
Oh, what a hole. The original movie dates for the forthcoming X-Men movies have all been shuffled, some of which makes sense. Deadpool 2 got moved up to May 18th, which means it'll come out just before Solo starts. So it'll get more money, because I don't know. If Solo does really good like it's supposed to, then it would have eaten Deadpool's profits. This way, they'll make more money with Deadpool. Yay for them. The New Mutants movie has been pushed back 10 months to February 22nd of next year, allegedly because they're reworking it to make it scarier. All right. And let's see, Gambit lost another director, so who the hell knows when that movie is coming out.
Does anybody care when that movie is coming out?
By the time it comes out, I think Channing Tatum is going to need a walker.
Exactly. It's what I was talking about with my daughter the other day. It's like his grandkid will play. And I think he's the only person. I mean, more power to him that he's that invested in the character, and maybe he can do what Ryan Reynolds did for Deadpool. It's like he's invested in it and he believes in it and he knows this is how the character has to be portrayed. But I don't really care about Gambit that much to begin with.
I never cared about Gambit that much either. He always annoyed me in the books.
Yeah, it's like this is a character you're going to push of all the X-Men characters. This is the next one that gets a solo movie? Really? Wow.
I don't actually wanted to ask you this about Deadpool 2. Because as more and more promos come out for this, and they're usually just stills. We haven't had a trailer apart from the phone booth thing, which doesn't count. Every new still that comes out that shows Cable in the background, who is integral to the Deadpool storyline, every time I see a new picture of Cable, he looks more and more like John Cena. Is that on purpose?
I hope not.
And now that I'm thinking about it, John Cena might not have been a bad person to play him because he just kind of looks that way, and I hadn't realized that until these ads came out. But
yeah, definitely the hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be awful. Everybody, it's Josh. No, not that it would be Cena, but just it's Josh Brolin. It's Josh Brolin. You go to see the movie, he's like, it's John Cena. That actually would be kind of funny.
I think it would work.
But I am looking forward to Josh Brolin in the role. I think he'll be awesome.
Let's see. There's other Marvel news. Actually, news from Marvel itself, because I still consider the X-Men movies to be part of Fox, even though Fox is now part of Disney, which is Marvel anyway. Some minor comic news, because this actually could affect movies in the future. Marvel has reacquired Conan the Barbarian, and they'll start reproducing Conan books in 2019. And this could lead to more Conan movies. Any thoughts on this? Good, bad?
Yeah, if you like Conan movies, then it's a good thing, because there's a good chance that they will make a good Conan movie as opposed
to three. I liked the second one.
As opposed to a blah. I like the first two. Yeah, they keep Jason Momoa away from it. That's one big help. Keep away. I have no idea who wrote the screenplay.
I don't either.
Keep that person away from it. Director, I'm not going to look it up.
I didn't think
Don't
it was
care.
hideous, but it was nowhere near as good as the first two.
No, it wasn't hideous, but it was just kind of there. It was like something that, oh, look, it's on. It's Saturday. I got nothing to do. And then when you're about 2/3 through, it's like, oh, shoot, I forgot. I need to mow the lawn. And then you turn it off and go mow the lawn. It's just
Or you
there.
wake up and go, ooh, Blade Runner's on this other channel.
Yeah, it's just there. It's not bad, but it's just there. And you would never turn the channel to watch Blade Runner. Don't lie.
I could not. If I needed to go back to sleep. Other Marvel news that is actually at the comic level now, but a few years ago they came up with a new Spider-Man that was not Peter Parker. His name is Miles Morales. Yeah, a Hispanic guy.
A few years ago.
It was.
No. How long has Miles been around for? Isn't it like 15 years now?
Has it? It could have. Actually, I'm thinking it might be about a decade. I don't know that it was more than that. But
anyway.
It could have been. I don't know.
Yeah,
anyway,
yes.
He's not going to be Spider-Man anymore.
What?
Because they brought Peter Parker back in. They merged a couple of universes, and now there is a Peter Parker being Spider-Man. So Miles Morales says he has to be someone else. He's going to work for S.H.I.E.L.D.,
Oh, I like that.
the big spy organization, and his new name is allegedly going to be Spy D.
Oh, my God.
SPY dash letter D.
That's awful. That's hideous.
It's cute, and yet, wow.
2011, so yeah, several years.
See, okay, I was thinking it was,
Yeah.
this decade.
Just seems like he's been around longer than that, which to me is a good thing. But Spy D, really? Wow.
It still kind of works.
Mm,
Kind of.
I hope they change it. But
So do I.
But I gotta say that's better than Kid Arachnid.
That was one of the things on the list, and people went, "No, don't do that."
Ow, that hurts.
Arac Kid. No, don't do that either.
Yeah, that's awesome. I say that. I mean, I like Peter Parker coming back, but that kind of bothers me. It's like, oh, you're Spider-Man. It's like, nah, you know what? Not so much. You're not Spider-Man anymore. It just seems kind of wrong. Make Peter
How many
Parker.
Flashes are there?
I
You can
know.
have 2 Spider-Men.
I know, that's the thing. Or make Peter Parker be somebody else. I mean, I'm sorry, dude, but if you die, you lose the job. Okay.
The Ancient Web. I'm guessing. I don't know. I'm making things up as I go along.
Make him the Iraq Elder or something. Anyway,
The Ancient Weaver.
Charlie Weaver
Could be.
could be.
Chris Hemsworth. Meanwhile, back at movies that actually do exist. We're not. Miles Morales hasn't. He's been on TV a few times, but Chris Hemsworth says he might want to do more Thor, especially after they redevelop the character in Ragnarok and the next 2 Avengers movies, which they just finished. Yay. Unfortunately, that ended up Hemsworth's contract. So, would you like to see Hemsworth come back as more Thor?
Totally, he's awesome as Thor.
I'll agree.
Especially, they took it obviously in a darker vein, no pun intended, in Thor: The Dark World, but they definitely got it back on track with, well, even in the Avengers films, he was more the big goofy brawling god who can get down to business and do serious work when it needs to be done. But yeah, Ragnarok is just excellent as far as defining the character. He's terrific in it. I'm not saying someone else couldn't do it, but
I don't want to see anyone else do it.
I don't want to see
It's not
anyone
like
else
he got
do
old
it.
or anything.
Yeah,
Keep going.
I totally want to see him do it. It'd be the same thing with someone, and there is a very good chance that someone else will be Captain America. Well, someone else is going to be Captain America at some point, obviously, in the movies. But I really don't want to see anyone else play Steve Rogers. I mean, the other Chris. How can I possibly say the other Chris? Chris 7A, I guess. Chris Evans. Dude,
Hardwick? What?
yeah. Chris Hardwick is Steve Rogers. Yeah, I really can't see anyone else playing that role. So, yeah, please figure out a way to keep that Thor in the films a little while longer. That would be a happy thing. Maybe he can be a wreck Thor.
Let's not. No. Although, there is good news from a guy named Jacques Cheffel. At least I'm pronouncing it French because he spells Jacques with J-A-C. There's should be more letters. Maybe it really is Jack. I don't know. But he's talking about scripting a standalone Black Widow movie, which I think, is overdue.
Mm-hmm. By a lot.
Yeah. I think after Iron Man 2, you needed to start writing this because that's when they popped her up. When she popped up, something.
Yes.
Made Stan Lee pop up. I'm sorry, I had to do that one. She needed to have a movie a while ago. So I think that's a good thing.
That's a very good thing.
And speaking of Black Widow and Thor, Shane Black, who wrote Iron Man 3, is talking about rebooting the Avengers. Although, it's not the Avengers you think it is. It's not the one with Black Widow is kind of in it, if you think about it. The original Black Widow, Mrs. Peel, to go with John Steed. It's the 1960s TV Avengers, which it's really weird. I started watching that again this week.
Really?
Because I've got too many DVDs. And then this news came across and I went, well, it's going to be better than the movie they tried to make.
Oh, my God.
I say tried to make because how did they screw that up?
I don't know. But boy, did they ever.
Ray Fiennes, Uma Thurman, Sean frickin' Connery, Eddie Izzard was in it. And,
well, wow. I'm not a fan of Uma at all.
I'm actually not that big a fan of Uma either.
But she was not the problem with that movie. That was an awful piece of crap script. But with Shane Black behind it, let's see. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which is one of my favorite little-known movies. So that movie is just awesome. The Last Boy Scout, which is a fun, cool movie. The Last Action Hero, wrote the screenplay. A Long Kiss Goodnight. He's done some really, really cool movies. The Nice Guys, forgot about that. I don't know how I forgot about that, but he wrote that. So tons of great movies that this guy comes up with. This is awesome news. Absolutely.
He says he's going to make it a cross between the Ipcris File and Doctor Who.
Which is perfect. I
think that's what it's supposed to be.
That is what it's supposed to be. This is fantastic news, and probably a lot of people don't even realize that because most people probably haven't even heard of the show, let alone remember it. And a lot of people might not be familiar with Shane Black's. Well, they know his work, they just don't know that they know his work.
Right.
So this is super, super cool. And talking about the Black Widow movie being long overdue, she was actually on screen before Miles Morales was even created. And Miles Morales is going to be on the big screen before Black Widow.
That's cheating.
That's kind of bad. That's kind of a bad thing, Marvel. So,
well, I don't know. Mrs. Peel was on screen before the comic book Avengers even existed.
Oh, yeah.
So that might count a little. Was she the first really big female action hero on any kind of a screen?
I can't think of one before that.
I'm having trouble coming. If you think of one, send us an email or something and let us know, because I can't think of one before Mrs. Peel. And she was awesome. Moving on with movie news. And this one, some people are saying it's a really bad thing. I'm saying it kind of makes sense in a strange kind of way. More Disney stuff, only this time it's the live-action Aladdin. That's what I've been calling it. Aladdin movie.
Nice.
They got in some trouble this week because Disney has been they've got like several thousand extras. And they've said that some of them are not dark-skinned enough, so they're doing they're quote, browning up their extras. One of the big quotes that came out of this is, Disney are sending out a message that your skin color, your identity, your life experiences amount to nothing that can be powdered on and wash off. I'm like, yeah, The reason they're doing this is because when Aladdin took place, there were no Caucasian people around. And so they're trying to make it make sense so that people who watch the movie historically go, oh, there's a white guy in the background, and that makes it historically inaccurate. Pan the movie, give it crappy reviews if they can't be bothered to get that little thing correct. Let's flip that, and that's where we are now. They're browning up the extras to make it historically accurate so people won't complain about their not... Look, I'm sorry, Caucasian people live in that area now, and they want to be hired as extras. Where does this go? I don't understand. How do you do this correctly?
Well,
because if you don't hire... They're not hiring the Caucasian actors. That's racism. No, it just...
No.
Going for...
It isn't.
How do you do this?
It isn't. You hire... If it's important to you to have people of a certain skin tone in the background as extras, hire those people. That seems like a pretty easy fix. And if someone complains about it and then says, it's like, hey, how can I get a job? It's like, well, because this is a period piece and people who look like you weren't there. You don't fit the requirements. Sorry. I mean, that's kind of a simple... it's a fix before they needed a fix. So it's kind of stupid that they didn't address this to begin with. Now that they've done that, I don't know how expensive it is going to be to reshoot some scenes with extras. I don't know. Digitally do it. Go ahead and put makeup on them, whatever. You know, if someone sues and says they didn't give me the job, just tell them, sorry, you're an idiot. But...
I was not cast as an extra in Roots, and there's a reason.
Yeah, depending on the scene, exactly. It's just kind of silly. This does go to the Black Panther pin at Disney.
Yeah.
How do you screw that up? They have collectible pins, and they have one of Black Panther, which was really cool. There's a problem, though, is in the cutouts for the eyes, it's clearly a Caucasian who's wearing the Black Panther mask.
Wait, I missed this. What are we talking about?
Disney World, they have a little collectible pins that they put out.
Okay.
And they released one for the Black Panther, which is awesome.
Okay.
It's just the Black Panther's head. And that's the pin. Except the cutouts for the eyes, it's a white dude wearing the mask.
Oops.
I don't know if they did that because this way you can see that's where the eyes are. And whoever manufactured it didn't really think about what they're doing. They probably didn't realize who the hell the character is because I'm sure it's made in Indonesia or something because China's too expensive now. But at what point why do you miss this? It's like, oh, we made a pin of a character and the character is black, but we made it white. So
it's Peter Parker. I'm looking at the pin now, and it...
How do you miss that? And it's not that it's not so much, it's not like, oh, it's an outrage, but it's just stupid. It's stupid that you would let that product hit the shelves in your stores. How did you not notice this, you morons? I mean, to me, this is not really a racism thing. It's just a stupid thing that you're not taking care of the property. I mean, you own the rights to this. Handle it correctly, morons.
Please.
Oh, my God. This is not the H&M monkey in the jungle thing.
No.
This is just stupidity.
Let's move on to another story that isn't as asinine. These are a couple of asinine stories we've had. How about this one? They're rebooting Spawn.
Which is nice.
Todd McFarlane has said, and I think this is interesting, they're making it not so much a superhero movie as they are a supernatural thriller. And the character of Spawn will not talk in the entire movie.
I read that. I'm not sure what to think about that. I like the fact that they're doing it as a supernatural thriller because that makes perfect sense as opposed to a superhero movie because, I mean, obviously it's both, which is fine. And it will make plenty, if it's good, it'll make plenty of money either way. I'm not sure what I think about the character. I mean, that's an interesting choice with the character not speaking. I can totally see how it can work. Actor. That's true. But like I said, it's an interesting call, but Right? Yeah, it could totally work. Just depends on how they handle it. It's just odd for the lead character not to speak, but you know,
It could
shape of
happen.
shape of water. Two lead characters, neither of them speak. They communicate, but they don't speak.
How about this one? Speaking of speaking, an actor that is known mainly for his voice, I think, at this point, Vin Diesel.
He's playing Spawn? That'd be awesome.
Close. He is supposedly the front runner for the Valiant comic movie Bloodshot,
Oh, that's cool.
which is being dubbed a crime-oriented Frankenstein thriller. The story following a mob killer who enters a witness protection program to become betrayed and be turned into the ultimate killing machine with no memories, who's injected with nanites that turn him into an unstoppable force. I'm worried that people are going to go, that sounds like Deadpool, except that Bloodshot came out first. So there. But how many knockoff movies have there been where both of them do just fine? I think it's good to have, more comic groups get movies.
Oh, absolutely. I don't. Yeah, maybe people see it as a knockoff. I mean, I don't think they're.
Yeah, Deadpool's the knockoff.
Yeah, and Deadpool has an entirely different vibe to it than Bloodshot. I don't really see that being a knockoff. So, I mean, Deadpool is it's extremely dark, but it's a comedy.
Yeah,
always has been. So, I mean, always has been in the comics. So, yeah, that's not the same thing at all. But Vin Diesel needs work.
Sure. Because he can only drive those cars for so long.
Yeah, really.
Let me ask you about this one, too. There's a TV series that Hasbro is putting together on their 1970s-based toy line, the MICRONAUTS. I always liked the MICRONAUTS with the Marvel comic and everything. I thought that would be cool, and now they're making a TV series out of it. 40 years too late. Do you remember the MICRONAUTS?
Sure. Yeah, like you said, I'm surprised they didn't go that route to begin with. Because that's how we got the G.I. Joe deal.
Well, this is supposedly going to be part of the Paramount/Hasbro combination thing, where they're going to be releasing movies, new G.I. Joe movies, new Mask movies, that's an acronym. Don't ask me what it stands for. I don't remember.
Yeah.
And ROM Space Knight.
Really?
To go along with a MICRONAUTS series.
So Marvel doesn't own the rights to ROM Space Knight. Interesting.
They sold that a while ago because they haven't used it since 1980 something. But yeah, I liked that.
Yeah, that
as
is cool.
As opposed to the new Teen Titans movie.
Uh-oh.
Oh boy. And it's not a Teen Titans movie that I would be interested in. This is Teen Titans Go, which if you've ever even heard of this series, you should know that there have been interviews with the people who created Teen Titans Go. And all of them unfailingly have said, this is the worst show I have ever worked on. I am embarrassed to have my name on the credits. But for some reason, it's incredibly popular with little kids, so there's a Teen Titans Go movie. I'm not watching the trailer. I saw the poster and went, no, don't do that. The tagline for the movie, the superhero movie to end all superhero movies.
Hopefully not.
No, that's the thing. That's what the tagline is, including the word hopefully.
That's sad.
So, no. Let's move on with other DC movies. Actor Joe Morton, who was in Justice League, has said that they're still moving on with the Cyborg movie, which I'm looking forward to. He played Cyborg's dad in Justice League, the name of which has escaped me. Silas Stone. See? As soon as I say it's escaped me, oh, there it is.
There it is.
I'm here. I was in the other room.
Vic's dad.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to this. I think it would. I always liked Cyborg. I thought he was a cool character. So give him a movie.
And for me, I could not care less about a cyborg movie. I've never found the character interesting, and I found the character in Justice League not remotely interesting at all. However, if it gives me more Joe Morton, I'm in.
Yeah,
He's
you'll
awesome.
get more Joe Morton. So there we
He
are.
is awesome, and he's a very interesting character. I think the dad is much more interesting than Cyborg. So cool.
Well, I want to see what you think about this. And this could be a future of movies thing. I've had this story for a while, and I keep pushing it off until the next show. I'm getting it out in this one.
Uh-oh.
Oh, wait, no, moving on. Just kidding. Bandai Namco Entertainment created a long time ago a video game called Galaga. Which, if you've ever even looked at video games, you know Galaga. A little spaceship at the bottom moves left and right, shoots bugs that fly down onto the screen.
Yep. Yep.
That's Space Invaders.
Boom.
Anyway.
Whatever, same thing.
Well, yeah, actually, it really is. With better graphics.
Yeah,
They're now making Galaga a fully immersive, interactive experience. They're going to call it Galaga Chronicles, which will be an anime-inspired thing and allow viewers to play along with the series. And the plan is to bridge the animated content with physical exhibitions and merchandise and live media and so on and so forth. They're going to be doing this at something called Score Wars, which is the Galaga World Championship in Santa Fe in March. So you're going to get a whole bunch of people in a big room. What does it say? 20,000 square foot exhibit space where you're going to have some kind of anime thing that you're going to interact with that's based on a video game. I want more details about this because I'm at the very least curious about what's going to go on here.
Yeah, it could be really, really interesting depending on how interactive is this? How does this really work? Is this interactive for people just watching or only for the people that are participating? You know, be curious to see.
Here's where AMC could charge more
off.
money. You get to pay more money if you want to interact with the movie.
There you go.
I'd get that.
Jump on the dinosaur and ride it. 20 extra bucks. Woo, come on.
There you go. Speaking of new stuff, and I'm not entirely sure how to take this, there is a brand new version of Animaniacs that is being sent straight to Hulu for 2 more seasons. I remember Animaniacs when it came out, and the first season I thought was actually rather brilliant because it parodied everything.
Yeah.
And then it tapered off real quick. Any thoughts on the new Animaniacs?
I think as long as they actually have new episodes and if they hit things like they did like you said in the first season, and if they just rip on everything at that appropriate age level, which it worked for adults because it's like you said, the first season certainly is hilarious, but it worked for kids at that age group too. If they can pull that off again, an updated version, yeah, absolutely. And that was a great show.
I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
I think the only other big television news I got this week was from the TV show Elementary, which for some reason hasn't started its 6th season yet. It finally has a start date. April 30th, which that's the end of when seasons are. That's when that's when they're going to start their 18 to 21 episode season, which is kind of weird, isn't it? Is that just me?
I guess they're to see, but
and it's not on Sundays anymore, so no more football interruptions.
That's a plus.
Yeah.
I think that the definition of the seasons is gradually eroding. This is kind of another point to it. I mean, with the split seasons that we get so much of now, here's our mid-season finale, and especially the fact that the networks have gone to that model, let alone the cable channels. There didn't really seem to be a season anymore. I mean, and for a show like Elementary to hit like you said, the replacement, what used to be the replacement series season, I think that's just more evidence of it. It's like people are going to watch whenever they're going to watch. You know, but so many people DVR things anyway. You can fit it into your summer schedule. So It's kind of odd, but I think more and more it's
For
going to
an
be.
established show like that
Yeah,
seems to be popular enough.
yeah, it is strange, but
It's going to be taking Scorpion's spot on Mondays once Scorpion's season is over. So
I think that's
good.
I think that's an improvement. Yeah, a friend told me, he's like, "Oh, you should watch Scorpion. It's a great show. You'll really like it." And then I watched one episode of it, and I thought, "Gee, what the hell did they think about me that they thought I'd like this show?" Anyway,
I watched the first episode, and when they did the yes, my Ferrari can catch up with that jet plane that's trying to land. Based on a true story. No, it isn't. Because that's just not going to happen. Speaking of things that, no, this actually might happen. I don't know. Ridley Scott has said he is open to doing another Blade Runner movie. Because there's a lot of more stories that can go in this particular universe. I'll agree with him on that.
yeah, there can be.
Do you think there will be, though? Because
Yeah.
Blade Runner 2049 didn't make as much money as they probably wanted it to.
Depends how much money, and depends how persuasive he is. But should there be? No, I don't think so. I mean, I think they've told the story. Of course, I mean, it's a whole other world, so of course there are almost limitless numbers of stories that could be told. And
We've really only followed, 4 characters?
Yeah, and I thought Blade Runner 2049 was brilliant. So yeah, I'd be happy to see it, but I'm not going to be heartbroken if they never make another one, because they don't need to. It's kind of like the Aliens thing. Did they need to keep this up? Did they need to do Prometheus? Did they need to do Covenant? No, because yeah, it's new stories, but they're not particularly satisfying, and I'm afraid that that's what would happen with the next Blade Runner installment. So just stop and move on to something else. I mean, this guy is incredibly uneven. I mean, he makes some brilliant pictures, and then he makes some, what the hell, dude?
Yeah.
So, no, just let's leave Blade Runner alone for another 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that. And then someone else can do it, because Ridley Scott will be dead. And I probably won't have to worry about it either. So bonus.
Well, how about this one? Sylvester Stallone. Right there, we can almost immediately say, no, we don't need this. Sylvester Stallone has posted a picture. Where did he post this? I guess on Twitter. A picture of him with Jason Statham and Randy Couture wearing, berets and guns. And guess what? He wants to do a 4th Expendables movie.
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, if people want to go watch it, yeah, I ain't going to go watch it.
Yeah, I didn't pay attention to 3.
I didn't either, or 2 for that matter. I mean, I watched The Expendables, and it was fine. That's a fun movie, but it's like I've seen better action movies.
I thought the camera work in the first one was horrible.
It's just fine.
Because it's like they attached the cameras to people's legs when they kicked or arms when they punched, but from the side, so you can't actually see what's going on. Move the camera back a bit. I'd like to see what's actually happening, other than just a blur of whatever.
Yeah, the big draw, the big conceit, of course, is, you're teaming up the big action stars that don't do action movies anymore. And, they threw in Van Damme and they threw in Lundgren, and it's like, yeah, okay, it's cute, but it's not worth sitting through a movie for. Just to, look who's in it. Fast and Furious is they've kind of updated the model. I mean, they're not doing it with a lot of people, but they're actually doing it with people that are still kind of relevant, as opposed to Sly. And, no, I don't really need to see another one. But if people go see it, sure, make 50 of them. I don't care. You're not getting my money for any of them, but yeah, go ahead.
There you go. Now, there is another sequel that got a lot of talk this week, and it's a movie we both liked. Kumail Nanjiani. I'm sorry I mispronounce your name all the time, dude. I like you. I think you're great, but I
know who you mean.
I suck with pronouncing your name. They're talking about making a sequel to The Big Sick. And
now that makes me happy.
Look, I loved the first one, but it's a comedy movie based on a true story.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot possibly see this. I'd like to see them in other movies, but not as a sequel to this. I mean, what are you going to do with it? because did this kind of thing continue on with your relationship? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go see the movie or rent it. It might still be on that porn channel I mentioned in the last show. I haven't looked.
Oh yeah, you have. Just not for that.
What are you gonna call The Big Sicker? This time it's contagious. What are you gonna do with this? I want you in more movies, but not this one.
It depends. It depends on what they do. And yeah, like you said, it depends on what they do with it. Who knows if they had a contentious relationship with the two sets of in-laws? Maybe they go on. They basically they could do like an Adam Sandler type movie, except make it funny. So I'm okay with them doing I'm okay with them doing a sequel to The Big Sick. I mean, they're very interesting characters, they're very appealing actors, and I'm sure he can come up with a scenario that would be worth watching. It probably won't have. I can't really see how it's going to have the gravity, because unless this time he gets sick and goes into a coma or something, and it's not going to have that weight to it, but that's okay, because the cast is great.
I'll agree.
Ray Romano to me is a classic comic who cannot act. I mean, he cannot portray anybody other than Ray Romano to save his life, literally. But
the Kevin Costner of comedy.
He plays that character, and a lot of comics are like that. Like, can Jerry Seinfeld act? Oh my God, hell no! But
he's himself.
But he's brilliant as himself, as doing a close variation of himself. I mean, there are a lot of really well known. Could John Wayne act? No, but he could play John Wayne really, really well. So it's
Kevin Costner.
Yeah. Romano was excellent in this. Holly Hunter is excellent in this. Everybody is great. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to another chapter on it. Is it going to be as good as the first one? I would be shocked if it would be, because that's some really difficult work. But, I mean, if Ridley Scott can keep on doing retreads of movies that he should have left alone decades ago, yeah, I'm all on board for that. The Big Sicker, that's a awful title, but it totally works.
Die Harder.
Exactly.
What do you? I really hope he's not going to hear this show and go, "That's what I'm using as my title." Don't do that, dude.
He won't. Probably
I was kidding.
The big Pornhub.
Yeah, there you go. And because we're recording on a Sunday, actually, no, that's not the reason I'm bringing this story up. It's because there's a trailer out now for a biblical epic.
What?
Which is something we don't talk about much. It's they made a movie based on the story of Samson, which, if you're not familiar with the story of Samson, he's basically a superhero.
Mm-hmm.
The longer his hair gets, the stronger he gets, because that makes sense. Anyway, there's a trailer for it, and it looks like a superhero movie. It's got a decent cast. I cannot remember for the life of me who's in it at the moment, and it doesn't matter. It looks like actually a pretty good sci-fi fantasy story, but what worries me is that because this story came out of the Bible, people think that this actually happened. So I'm wondering, do you think people look at Superman and go, "I'm never going to Metropolis. It has to be completely destroyed by now after that time that Zod came and did his gravity pogo stick through the planet," or whatever that was.
Some people might think that.
Did you see the trailer for this?
I have seen the trailer for that. For Samson. It looks okay. I mean,
it looks like it could be. You mentioned the Saturday afternoon. Oh, look, it's on.
Exactly.
And I'm trying to put off mowing the lawn movies.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's the biblical version of Conan, basically, with a little less blood. Yeah, I don't care about this movie. A lot of people will. But, I mean, it's not because it's the character of Samson. I just don't particularly care for the Conan-type movies, which this is a Conan-type movie.
It looks Conan.
Yeah, it's, okay.
Marvel should sue.
Fine, make a movie. Hopefully if you make it and you make it well and people who watch it enjoy it, but I don't care. But it is funny that people are... Ooh.
It was in the Bible. It was real, man.
I hope it's historically accurate. It's like, good luck with that.
As long as they don't have to brown up their extras, I think we'll be fine.
Exactly.
And on that note, I have run out of things to put in the show. How about you?
Me too.
Hey, how convenient. What is there? Football still going on? We can go watch football.
There's football going
or something.
On. Yes, indeed.
All right. So until next week, when we may or may not have Lee back, or Ted, I don't know, or Steve. We'll find someone named Steve to throw in the show.
Rogers? Ooh.
Da-da-da-da. Anyway, no, that's Steve Austin. Steve Rogers. Steve Rogers. Didn't he pitch for Montreal back in the 80s?
He did indeed.
Anyway.
He did indeed.
Good night, everybody.
Captain, we're losing power in the warp engines.
I think we should be leaving now.
I'm gonna go home and sleep with my wife.
And on that unusually harmonious bombshell, it is time to end.
I am very disappointed!
Man, we have a weird job.
It's shameful, but, it's a living.
And like that, he's gone.
Darn, that's the end.